All right, let's see if you guys can hear me any better. See if the connection's any better. I'm sure it is. I'm just going to type in some stuff real quick and then we'll get back to talking. But yeah, the whole thing with this live stream is I want to talk about, the 8th generation car. Any questions you guys might have on it. I know a lot of people have questions about the car. I've spent a lot of time with all the variants of Dodge Charger, the 8th gen car. And again, I think they're great cars. I am kind of biased. I do have one, but I absolutely love the car. There is some things I don't think it's a perfect car by any means. I think there's some things that could be changed on the car to make it better. But I wanted to kind of inform people about the car itself. Again, I think there's a lot of questions out there. I think a lot of people are kind of like stuck, like, hey, I don't like it because it's not a Hemi powered car. But there's a lot of positive things about this car, and I want to talk about them tonight. So hopefully you guys see me. Okay, good. Yes, we're back. We are back. I changed my Wi-Fi to my mobile hotspot. So, anyways, yeah. So if you guys have questions about the 8th generation Dodge Charger, let me know in the comments, and I will try to answer them. I'm just typing a note here. Let me see here. All-Terrain Nation. I was at the launch of this car, and the inside blew me away. Yeah? Let me see here. Let's see. The inside blew me away. It's a nice car. I think there is some materials that need to be changed for the inside of the car. If you sat in the two door, obviously, I mean, I'm sure you sat in the four door, but the two door itself, the door sills are very plasticky. They get scratched up real easy. And I have a Dodge Charger Daytona, so I'm used to it. The other thing was the big thing I noticed was the haptic buttons. They've actually changed the haptic buttons, and I was talking to Ryan Nagodi, who's head of interiors for the Chrysler Group. So basically, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. And I asked him, I said, "Hey Ryan," I said, "did you change the buttons? Because that was the first thing I noticed in the cars that we went and tested in Vermont, compared to my own car and compared to the Scat pack that I had in Tennessee." And he basically said, "No, we didn't change the buttons at all. But just by touching them, they felt like they were different." But he said that they updated the software in them, and it fixed about 90% of the interior that I hated, because I hate haptic buttons. Absolutely hate them. On my car, you constantly have to do the pokey from the finger up, and they adjusted the software. And I asked them, I said, is this going to be for the 25 and 24 cars too, in the early 26s? And he said no. He said it's an actual software update with the actual part. So unfortunately for those of us who have the 24 and 25, the buttons are staying the same. It's not an over-the-air update thing, but they did fix that. They're still working on a few things, but overall the interior is a nice upgrade. It's so much better to look out of the actual greenhouse of this car compared to the outgoing cars. The old cars had like the chopped look to it, which was cool, in appearance. But just being able to look out and seeing around you and less blind spots. I mean, the Charger itself, the hatch, seeing out that back of the hatch is a pain in the ass. But looking out around the actual car is actually really nice. You can see a lot more of the road. So I do like that aspect. I think the paddle shifters could be bigger. On the Daytona, they're not paddle shifters so much. They're just, for regen. But they could be bigger. I think that they hide them too close to the steering wheel. Other than that, the eco-friendly leather is probably the biggest complaint I have now that the haptic buttons are fixed. I really hate the eco-friendly leather that they put in this car, because it feels like really thick vinyl tablecloth. You can tell that this car was designed under the Carlos Tavares era, where it was like cost-cutted big time on materials, and I really hate that. So, I mean, if they could fix that and fix a few of the plastic things, which no doubt in my mind they are fixing, because we're going to get a revamped Charger in 2028 with a mid-cycle update, I don't doubt that these things will be fixed. I'm curious to know what you think about an off-road version of the Charger similar to the off-road Sublime Challenger. You're talking about like a lifted all-wheel drive car? There's actually a guy from Canada who bought a Dodge Charger Pursuit, an all-wheel drive one, who comes to all the car shows here in Metro Detroit, and he actually rhino lined it, and it's got he lifted it, and he lifted it like I want to say like 2 inches, and put like all-terrain tires on it with Ram actual Rebel wheels on it, and it looks really killer, like really killer. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think the only thing that you're going to be worried about is trying to get in the thing, because you're going to be kind of like having to sit up and then slide across, but I think that's a cool idea. I don't necessarily think it would sell in huge numbers. Fanboys will never get over the lack of V8 sounds. Yeah, totally true. Totally true. And the thing is like, I'm not a Hemi hater, because I've owned tons of Hemi products. I have right now in my driveway, I have a 2021 Dodge Durango RT Blacktop Edition. Everybody knows, because this channel was based on it, was my 2023 Chrysler 300C. I had 2 2014 Dodge Charger RT all-wheel drive cars. I mean, I've had a Ram 1500 with Laramie Sport with the Hemi in it. I've had tons of 5.7 vehicles and 6.4 vehicles, and yet the Gen 3 is an outdated engine. I'm sorry, it just is. The only thing that seems logical is to put a Hellcat in this car, because if you put anything that's underpowered compared to what the Hurricanes are, it's stupid just for sound. Because these cars do sound good. They don't sound like a Hemi, but they sound pretty damn good. And I tried to like push that in my video. So if you go and listen to the actual sounds of these cars, you will be very surprised. So like if we go to, this is the RT. I'll show you exactly how this car sounds, because I shot some audio of the exhaust on it, and it doesn't sound bad. Now you have to remember, in the RT, you actually have a sport-tuned exhaust. You do not have, I'm trying to find, I think I put it, oh, let's see here. I'm trying to find where I put the exhaust video, part of the video. Right here. So anyways, it has a sport-tuned exhaust, so it sounds not as loud as the dual mode active exhaust on the Scat Pack. Scat Pack sounds awesome. I will be honest with you, it really does sound awesome, especially when you're in the car getting on the highway. But you can hear, we'll play this real quick.
It's not as soft as the
let me see here. It's still playing my other video. Hold on a second here.
Again, it's not.
Let me play this real quick so you guys can hear it. If it will play. Hold on a second. Gotta remember, we're using my hotspot here.
Turbo lag.
And now we gotta watch a commercial. That's what you gotta love about Facebook. Or YouTube. Anyways, yeah, the sound of the exhaust actually sounds pretty good on the RT, but it doesn't sound as good as the Scat Pack. So hold on here. Let me play it. It'll be playing here in just a second. Here we go. It's got a little bit of burble to it. Again, it's a good sounding car. It just doesn't sound like the actual Scat Pack. The Scat Pack sounds really good, like really, really good. There's a part of the video I left it on here so you guys could hear it. Was me getting on the highway. I actually kind of pulled over, and I didn't come to a dead stop, but I came to like maybe like a 2-mile-an-hour roll, and I want you guys to listen to this from the car and getting like from the outside of it.
Like I'm barely giving it maybe 20% throttle.
Oh, now it's gonna play both videos. Hold on here.
Slowly roll.
So both cars sound really good. I mean, yeah, it's no Hemi. Like my 6.4 sounded really good when it started up, you know. But the honest to God's truth is, what would you rather have? A better sounding car or one that puts down the power a lot better? I kind of highlighted that in this video with the Scat Pack one, because I did a video down in Tennessee and I compared it to my 2023 Chrysler 300C with the 6.4. And hold on here, I'm kind of like all over the place, but I want you guys to kind of see some of this stuff if I can find it. I don't know. Here we go. So here's my 6.4 300C in the new Hurricane high output car. Just listen to the two. If it'll play. Hold on here. Let me go back. This is where. Here we go. So you can see both cars have dual mode active exhaust. So it's when you start them up, you can actually hear the flaps flip in the exhaust when it's under a cold start. But yeah, the 6-cylinder sounds different. It sounds more like yeah, it kind of sounds BMW-ish. It kind of sounds like kind of a mix of, like, when you get on it, kind of a little bit like a Viper. But it's different. But the power is so broad on the low end. It makes up for anything that you miss hearing on the V8. Is there a police variant coming out? So I asked Matt McAleer. I had a huge talk with Matt down there, and we talked for like 45 minutes. It was actually a pretty good talk. And that was the first thing I asked him. I said, everybody keeps asking me about a Charger, pursuit, and he said, hey, just to let you know, we are talking with Michigan State Police to, certify the vehicle and go through all the stuff. He goes, it's going to take some time, but we're actively doing it. So they will be coming out with a Charger Pursuit. He didn't really go into details because they're not ready to release all that stuff yet, but they are working on it. We've seen that they were working on a Daytona one, but I don't think they're going to go forward with the Daytona just yet. But the six-pack car, more than likely, they'll probably have a couple of RT models ready to go. My biggest question, and again, he didn't answer any of this stuff, and I didn't really ask him about this, was how are they going to basically limit access to the hatch from the rear compartment? So that's going to be a big thing. So there might be some aftermarket stuff that they can do to put like a separator in, because now with the hatch design, you can just reach into the back. So with a actual passenger compartment have to be secured from the rear, so prisoners can't just get into the back and get into the weapons or the computer systems or anything else that's in the back of the car. They have to come up with a divider. So we're going to probably see something like that. But he said that they're actively working with Michigan State Police and other law enforcement agencies to get a car certified and be pursuit ready. So hopefully soon we'll see it, probably within the next year. So I know a lot of people have asked about that, but yeah, you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer. And the cool thing is like when I go to car shows and stuff, I've actually had probably a handful of cops actually sit in the car. And I'm not talking about like, hey, this is their day off. I'm talking about I've had people sit in the car with their gun belts and stuff on. And believe it or not, even with the center console there, they've actually fit in no problem. Their gun belts really haven't been obstructed by it or anything like that. So it's been a very comfortable car for everybody. So again, I know a lot of people are waiting for, especially like highway patrols, for a Charger. And the very interesting thing I will tell you guys is originally Dodge told us that the RT was going to have like something like 160 mile, or no, what was it? Like something crazy. It was like 150 something mile an hour top speed. The RT now has a top speed of 128 miles an hour. Okay. Realistically, the Scat Pack would probably be the best way to go for law enforcement agencies, because then you got 177 mile an hour top speed. So there is a huge difference between the RT now and the Scat Pack in top speeds. Hey Grant, how's it going, man? I think the Hurricane is a damn good engine as long as Chrysler Group can keep it bulletproof. Exactly. It's a totally different engine, but it's after driving it in the Grand Wagoneer and the Wagoneer, because obviously the SO's in the Wagoneer, and driving it in the Ram 1500, both applications there, that engine feels totally different under the hood of this car. Like, totally different. It feels like it was made for this car. If it was me, like, for example, in the Ram 1500, I really like the SO, just for normal day use, because it's so smooth in that. But I do like the Hemi. I like the sound of the Hemi in that. But if I had to pick between the two, it'd be kind of like whatever. I really wouldn't care if I had to make a choice. The HO in the Ram 1500 is awesome. But for this car compared to those, like again, just how I understand how those are in those applications, and I've driven a Wagoneer with the Hemi in it, with the 5.7 Hemi. The Wagoneer with the 5.7 Hemi would probably be my choice over the Hurricane in that application, but going to this car, the 5.7 would be such a dog in this thing, mainly because it's hard to explain, because the 5.7, its power comes on the top end. First of all, it's less horsepower. You look at like the displacement and stuff, it's such an outdated engine. It doesn't make the power it technically should. But again, if you put all that weight against it, because this car, the RT actually weighs 4,718 pounds, I believe. It's something like that. 4,718 or something like that. It's in the low like 4,700s. It's about 100 pounds, 120 pounds lighter than the Scat Pack. The thing is like, that's a heavy car. And yeah, it is a big car, and that's what's great about it. You're comfortable in it. It's fun to drive. It's not like a track weapon like Mustang is. I just watched a thing with Edmunds, and they were talking about how much better the Mustang is at handling and all that. Well, yeah, it's a smaller car. You can't use it every day like you can this Charger. Like, my Charger has a 121-inch wheelbase. The Mustang has what, like 12-inch wheelbase, something like that, maybe even less. You know, I can fit 5 full-size adults in my car. It's totally different. You know, it's a usable car. You can pop the hatch on it and you actually use it as a normal everyday car. So yeah, it's not built to be a track weapon. It's just amazing once you get behind the wheel of this thing, how big it is and how it doesn't feel that way. And I think that's the biggest thing that people need to take from this. And that's why it won Car of the Year. Everybody was shocked when they went down the tail of the dragon, and all of a sudden they had a car that could handle pretty damn good considering how massively big it is. But everybody's still stuck on the whole Hemi thing. The Hemi thing has nothing to do with how this car works, because the Hemi is so outdated and so underpowered because of these Hurricane engines. You know, again, I think they have to prove the Hurricane engines in these cars for people to really step up. But to me, there's a few things that are really keeping people out of the car. It's not so much the Hurricane. I think people would get in like behind the wheel of these things if they were cheaper. So if there was a cheaper entry point into the Charger lineup, I think a lot more people would be like, hey, I'm going to go check that car out. I think with a starting price of $50,000 before destination, I think that is a huge price to pay for a car. And what people aren't realizing is, you know, like, it's a lot of car for the money. Yeah, again, when I drove the base model RT, was it worth that much? I don't think the base model is worth 50 grand. Realistically, if it was like 42, I think it would be. I think there's a lot of room that Dodge can do, like move the RT back a little bit. And, you know, I don't, performance-wise in that, even though they're based on the same engine, I think there should be more of a gap between the RT and the Scat Pack. So I do think that the RT needs to come back down in price by a couple grand. But honestly, if it was me, I would go Scat Pack all the way. For the price difference of $5,000, you would be shocked at how different the cars are. Just absolutely shocked. RT's a good car if you can't afford it, you know, going up to a Scat Pack. But the HO engine is so worth it. Like, it's totally night and day different. So, the seats look stiffer than the old car seats, are they? Well, I'll tell you what, the ones with the adjustable headrests, the base model seats, are pretty comfortable. They're not bad. Well, again, I've had two 2014 RTs. So they had the RT actual bolster seats from the last generation. And then I had a 2023 300C, which had the SRT Hellcat seats. The actual high bucket, the high performance back seats are probably the most comfortable seats I've ever sat in. They aren't as bolstered as the outgoing Hellcat seats, but that's kind of a good thing, especially for like a big guy like me. So I actually feel comfortable in it. Do they keep you pinned into the seat? Not as good, no. They don't keep you as locked in as the old seats did. But if you're driving long distances, they don't feel like they're digging into your side. I think they're probably the most comfortable long distance driving seats I've ever ridden in. And they're most, like, by far, because the way that they adjust and stuff, they're super comfortable. I actually like the high back seats more, the sport high back seats more than the base seats. The only thing I can say about the base seats is if you get the manual seats, the one bad thing about those are you can't lower them down. So like on the plus cars, if you get the actual power seats, you can actually lower the seats quite a bit and you have a lot more headroom. The car does have a lot of headroom. Like when I drove that RT, I actually had quite a bit of headroom in the car, but I like sitting low in the car. And a lot of the complaints that I've been seeing from other automotive journalists and YouTubers that went down there and drove these cars is that they feel like they sit too high up in the car. So with the plus cars, you can lower the seat down so you feel like you're down in the car. So that was something I did not feel like that I did not like about the RT with the actual manual seats. But if the seat wise, the base seats are fine. I would say they're about comparable with what the outgoing seats were, but the high back seats are super, super comfortable. They're not too bolstered. They're just one thing I absolutely love about these seats, and you're gonna laugh, is obviously I'm fat. I have a big butt, right? So when I sit in the seats, I want something with a lot of cushion in it. And the high back sports seats actually have a lot of cushion in the bottom parts of the seats. So when you're driving long distances, you don't, like in my Durango, I always feel like I can feel like the springs in them. Like it just feels like it gets hard after a while when you're driving. Like there's not enough cushion in them. These seats feel totally different. So if you like having like a soft, cushiony like seat, you're gonna like those. But yeah, the base seats feel nothing different than like the base seats that were in the other car. They're designed a little different, but the bolstering in this car isn't as aggressive as the old cars. And to me, that's kind of a plus. Now, if they build a Hellcat model and decide to put bigger bolsters in the seats, yeah, I think that would help a little bit, but I like these seats the way they are. Our 24-hour long-term review Mustang screen was a nightmare. This car is way better. Oh, so I mean, I've ridden in a Dark Horse before. Dark Horse is a cool car. The Dark Horse, I love the 5-liter Mustang V8. I think that the V8 has gotten really good in Mustang since they debuted the 5-liter in 2011. I mean, they've already had 5 generations, like 5 different interpretations of the 5-liter already, and we are still on basically the same Gen 3 Hemi V8 since when was the last time it got a massive update? It was 2008 when it became the Eagle. So I mean, the dual overhead cams and stuff, like that whole engine is a pretty badass engine. But I don't know. The Hurricane engine, again, it's not my favorite engine, but it's totally fun in this car. It would be such a drab to put the 5.7 or 6.4 in this car. So, I mean, it would sound good, but you wouldn't get the performance. I don't think it would be any cheaper because I just don't. The new 880RE automatic transmission is totally different than the 8HP 70 transmissions that they had in these cars, in the outgoing cars. The reason why is this is the 4th generation ZF design, but Chrysler builds them, so it's called an 880RE. So they actually build them in Kokomo. But these things bang shift harder than any 8-speed transmission I've ever felt. Even the 8HP 95 in the Trackhawk, if you put it in sport mode on the Scat packs and you like punch on it from a dead stop, it will bang shift you hard. And then the funny thing is you go into auto mode and just set it at cruising speed and it's super smooth. So again, I really like this transmission setup. I think it's really, really good. There's some things, again, like I don't like about the car. I think the car rides really stiff, and I think part of it is it's so big. So the RT that I had down there, the RT I had the blacktop package, and in the blacktop package you actually get the sport suspension. Oh, let me go to this article here. You get the sport suspension in it, and the problem with the Vermont roads and New Hampshire roads, I don't know if you paid attention to this all terrain, but when you're down there, it seems like their roads, they just black topped over everything. They didn't bother to actually flatten the roads out. So the roads had humps in them. They looked like they were smooth, but man, the car was bouncing a lot. And the new generation of Dodge Charger is very stiff compared to the outgoing ones. It doesn't matter if you're in the RT or the Scat Pack, you feel like you're bouncing around a lot more. Now the car, again, feels a lot more direct. When you point the steering into somewhere, the car will go to it. But compared to the outgoing car, definitely. But it feels like, I don't know if they could make it a little bit softer ride on the RT. I thought it was just a little rough compared to what I thought it should be. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't like, oh, I hate the way this car rides. I just think it could have been adjusted a little softer. So, but that was just me. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm trying to go through the things. Can't wait to get out of my Daytona RT lease. Well, hey, Yeetus, how's it going, man? Car's in the shop again, because of the disconnect. By then, I'm curious to see how this engine holds up over the course of a year. Yeah, me too. I think that's the biggest thing, like, I'm kind of holding out for is, like, hey, how is the Hurricane engine going to be? Honestly, I've debated on, like, I know this sounds stupid. This car right here, the car I drove in Tennessee and I drove in Vermont too, I absolutely love this car. I'm not a huge triple nickel fan. I think it looks great on this car. Not in this picture because it's dirty as hell. Let me see if I can find a better picture. There it is down in Tail of the Dragon. This one's fully loaded, but I would absolutely, like, they're probably going to sell this car to some dealership or something like that, or maybe even crush it. I don't know. I don't necessarily know. They do kind of both with their media cars, or, you know, like pre-production cars, because this is technically a pre-production one. I would love to, like, buy that car because I love the way it drove. I love the options on it. It has the demonic red seats. I'm not a huge fan of the glass roof option because you can't open it. Like, that was my biggest gripe about the car, other than the haptic buttons, was that it has a glass roof, but you can't open it. Because every single car I've owned for the past 20 years has had some kind of sunroof. So, I mean, I like being able to crack my roof open a little bit and get some air in there. But unfortunately, this car doesn't have that. But overall, I really love the Scat Pack. I think it's a great car. That car particularly, I think it would be kind of cool to own the car that I went down the Tail of the Dragon with and to Vermont. So I'm going to see if I can see if they're willing to sell it at the end and see how much it's worth. If they're going to say it's worth something crazy, I probably wouldn't buy it, but I would probably order something like that. I'd actually like the 4-door better, but I really like that car. That 2-door, the way that one's spec'd, is a really nice car. But it again, it's getting, the muscle car things are getting, like, these 6-pack cars are expensive. And if you get the plus car for the extra $4,000, which is like $39.95, you get so many more, like, so much more content. It's worth the plus package. You'll actually enjoy the car more. The problem is the starting price, and I think the Scat Pack's at a perfect starting price, $55,000. I think it's the perfect starting price for that car. It's the RT. I think it's too much. I think the RT needs to go back down to, like I said, probably around, if they could do like 47.5, I think, or even, like, ultimately I would think like 45,995 would be great. Like a $10,000 difference between the cars. I think that would be huge, but honestly, I don't think they're going to do it. I do think, like Grant said, I think they need an SXT or GT model, and I wrote a whole article about that on Mopar Insiders, that they need a more affordable Dodge Charger model. I think once they come up with a more affordable option, either with like a Pentastar V6 or a Hurricane 4, it doesn't need to have all-wheel drive. It's cool that these cars have all-wheel drive, but it doesn't need to have it. I think once they get the car down to, like, if they could break like $39,000, I think a lot of people would start looking into the car more. They're basically alienating their volume customer. So if you look at the last generation, most of the models that were sold were SX, well, not just SXTs, but mostly were GTs. So your SXTs were your rentals, basically the bare stripped out cars. Then you had your GTs, which were your volume car. The RTs, even though they were the entry level cars, they really didn't sell the numbers like the GTs or the Scat Packs did. So bring back the Challenger. You know what? A lot of people think like the Challenger would be good to bring back. I think it would be. I think there's room for 2 of these cars. And I'm not talking about bringing retro back, because the whole purpose of this car, and when I was talking to Greg Howell, who is the head designer for Dodge now, he's basically the lead designer or head of design for Dodge. You know, the whole purpose of this car was not to bring a retro car into the lineup again. What they wanted to do was build a a car that had retro cues but was very modern, and they did a good job with this car. I think there was some, like, I wish the taillights were kind of angled like this 1970 cars, like how the, if you look back at the 2014 cars, how they're angled in the back. I think that would have been kind of a little bit cooler, but I really love the front of this car. It's funny because I see a lot of people say, I hate that car, it looks stupid. A lot of those people, again, a lot of these people that are online that bash the car have never even seen the car, have never sat in the car, have never even driven the car. So again, I think it's going to be up to people seeing these cars in person. Again, I've talked to a lot of people who said they've only seen maybe one on the road. Some people have said they haven't seen any. So it just depends on where you live in the country. Here in Detroit, we've seen a ton of them because everybody's driving for fast feedback vehicles now. When I got mine in May, I think I was one of maybe like 6 people on the roads here that had one. And now I'm seeing them every day. Matter of fact, the guy down the street from me is driving a fast feedback 4-door right now, a Daytona. So, but there's no reason why you can't bring back a Challenger and make it a little smaller to make it go against Mustang. For all those people who complain that this car is too big, there's plenty of room in the lineup to build a D segment car. This is an E segment car. So this is a full size car, but why not bring a mid-size car to the lineup and make it like an actual Challenger? So there's no way to manually raise the base seats. No, Bobby. I tried. I could not do it. They have the back, like the back recline and the pushback, and that's all I seen. I tried to lower the seats. I couldn't do it. I couldn't raise them. I couldn't figure it out. Hey, Eric. How's it going, man? Let's see here. Hey, Greg. I agree. The Plus on my Durango made the world to us. Yeah. Yeah, the Plus packages definitely help, especially if you like some creature comforts. The other thing is people have to realize too, and it sounds really stupid, if you add the Plus package, you have to look at the residual values of these cars. If you add the Plus package, guaranteed you'll probably get your money back out of the car because you're getting all this equipment added onto it. If you buy the base car, a lot of times they won't hold their value like a Plus car would. It sounds stupid, but that's the truth. The 4-door looks good. Oh, dude, the 4-door looks the best in my opinion. If we, the 4-door itself, it looks more complete. The big thing was when they when they made the Charger a 2-door, because it's got 121 inch wheelbase, the doors are mammothly long. Like one of my biggest complaints about my Charger Daytona is when I go to park in parking spots, like let's say I go to Target with the wife, it's a bitch to get out of the car because one is I'm 6'1", but I'm also a big guy, and when I try to climb out, I gotta be very, very careful of not hitting the car next to me. The actual Charger, the new Charger's doors, I have a 1979 Chrysler 300 in my garage, and that is based on the Cordoba. And it's funny because both cars were built on the same exact assembly line in Windsor. But that car, that 1979 car, if you look at the actual size of that car, it's mammoth. It's actually longer than the Charger, but the doors are 3 inches narrower than what are on the new Charger. The doors are mammoth on the Charger 2-door. The 4-door is so much better to live with day to day. I had a Charger Daytona that they gave me with a 4-door package. My wife loved it right off the bat because, first of all, the B-pillars are right here on the car. So you can actually put your seatbelt on and not have it cut through your neck. The way that the actual seatbelts hang off the pillar in the back, they have these loops that go through the seats to like hold the seatbelt ends, but you can take it off basically so you can let people in the back seats. If you put that in the loop, it's too short for me. So basically the seatbelt comes like here across me. If I take it off, it comes like right here on my neck. If you watch any of my live streams when I'm in the car, that seatbelt's always here. And if you notice, like the seatbelt's always flipped over on itself, the reason I do that is I pull a bunch of slack out of it and I kind of flip it over so it doesn't rub against my neck. I've kind of had to learn how to do that. But the actual 4-door, the pillar's right here. You can adjust it going up in that. It just comes across just like a normal shoulder belt. So it's not like it's interfering with your neck or anything. A lot of people, especially women that are short, that have gotten in my car, they do not like the seatbelts in the 2-door. The 4-door is a lot better. Now, I will say that the 4-door, on the exterior looks more complete. It makes the car look more finished. I think it looks better, especially from like a 3/4 angle of the car. Like you can see here, I just think it looks better. The one thing I will say that I don't like about the 4-door is it has the same, what they call DLO, daylight opening, that the coupe has. So this is all the same shape. Nothing changes here. But the one bad thing is while that doesn't change, if you sit in the back of the car, my eyes, I'm 6'1", if I sit straight up like I normally would in the seat, my eyes come right here at this pillar. So like the actual door line sits right under my eye. So when I get in the back of these 4-doors, I have to slouch like down in order to see out. That's my only complaint about the back. You have more headroom than the outgoing car for sure, but looking out the DLO, you don't. You can't see out of it. You have to lower your head. So if you're, I mean, most people aren't going to be like putting 6'1" people in the back of their car. It's not going to happen. These are for like, families that have small kids and, hey, I don't want the 2-door, I want the 4-door. Not everybody's going to carry adults all the time with them in the car. But again, it's just the perception, because I'm like right here and I can't see out the window unless I slouch down. But it's no different than like the Challenger from the outgoing generation. Like when I got in that car, I had headroom. I was kind of like sat way back, but I couldn't really see out the windows too well in that. And that's kind of like how this is. But if you have young kids and stuff, it's going to be fine. Shorter females and stuff, and even shorter males will have no problem. But if you're over 6 foot tall, you're going to have a hard time seeing out the back of the car. So that's my really only big complaint. With the addition of 2,000 new engineers, I've read one of the priorities is fixing the software on the Charger Daytona and the Wagoneer S. Have you heard anything specific on what software improvements? Well, they have been fixing it. They recently issued a brand new update, an RSB. God, excuse me. Hold on a second. My allergies have been killing me, so I've got like really dry throat where it tickles. So they issued an RSB. So it's like a service bulletin, but they won't send out a recall notice. So unless you call the dealership and tell them that you're having problems with certain things, they won't like basically reissue the software update, because the software update for the RSB it requires you to go to the dealer and do basically like a 2-hour over the air. Well, it's not really over there. They do the update. An over-the-air update usually happens like in your driveway. If you have it plugged up to like Wi-Fi or whatever, it will just update the car. But this one requires them like you to go to a dealer. So you might want to look at your VIN and type it in on Mopar's actual website and see where it falls. Honestly, they've solved about 99% of the problems. The biggest thing that they didn't do with the original software, and what I was told from a couple engineers, was that they never isolated. So you have all these modules. Let's just make it easy. Let's say there's 25 modules, okay? Obviously, when you build a car, you have all these suppliers. So let's say the stereo's from Panasonic, the seats are from wherever, all these different manufacturers have these parts, and all of them have to communicate together. Well, what happens, and like what you've seen with who was it? Yeetus's car, like it bricks because of disconnect. Well, what happens is on the RTs they have discoupling front drive shafts, or they technically don't have drive shafts, but the motor will disconnect and it will just be like a free floating spin. Where on the Scat packs on the Daytonas, they are full-time all-wheel drive. So that's why the RT gets way better mileage than the Scat pack. So while my car's full-time all-wheel drive, his car will disconnect and just run rear-wheel drive. So anyways, what happens is when it goes to connect, and if something doesn't, like, say for example, one of the modules doesn't like something that's happening, it will pop up like an error. So instead of isolating the error and saying like, hey, there's an issue that needs to be fixed, what it does is it sends an error out, and then all the other modules are like, oh crap, there's something wrong, and they start shutting down. So that was the big problem. So they fixed that supposedly. For example, they sent me a 26 Dodge Charger Daytona 4-door Scat Pack, right? I had that for a couple days, and I went to go charge it for the very first time on a fast charger. I'm backing into the fast charger, and the lobster light comes on. If you know what the lobster light is, it's a little wrench with a lightning bolt through it. We call it a lobster because it looks like a lobster. So, anyways, what that means is there's basically that the car's going to shut down soon. There's an error with the electrical system. So it's like, oh crap. So I went and charged the car anyways, and I didn't start it. And it was like one of those nights where it was like bitter freaking cold. I sat there with no jacket on because I figured, hey, I'm going to jump in the car. I just will leave the car run while it's charging. I took my laptop with me. Thought, yeah, it's going to be fine. Well, that lobster light came on, and I didn't want to touch nothing. What I've learned is some of the software is just temperamental. My car's done it a couple times where the lobster light comes on. What I do is just shut it off, shut the door, walk away from it, let it go through a sleep cycle. So basically walk away for a few minutes, but take the keys with you like more than 50 feet away. Wait about 5 minutes, come back to the car. Sometimes it'll go through a sleep cycle and it will erase that code. It will heal itself. So the software is working now, but they still have some issues. But it's being a lot better. So a lot of times I can fix the issue without it bricking. So I've only had the car brick on me once. And again, I wasn't even pissed about the bricking. I was pissed off that it took 5 tow truck companies to come get the damn car because no one wanted to tow it. So I think if you're having issues, go and talk to your dealer. Tell them like, hey, you got to tell them something like, hey, I'm getting errors all the time in that. Talk to them, and they will look at and see if you have an RSB, and you can tell them like, hey, I want that updated, and they'll update your software. But it takes 2 hours at least for the update. So they have to do this whole thing. A lot of people don't know this, but if you go to the Mopar Tech Jordan's actual page, Mopar Tech Jordan here on YouTube, he's got a Charger Daytona like mine. All he does is he does all of like when dealers take in cars, and he does like all the inspections on them when they come off the truck and gets them ready with all the updated software and everything. He does all that stuff. He has actually done a really good job on his channel covering what they do for this update. You would be amazed at what they have to do for these electric vehicles. So it's not like they just pull it into the bay, put it up on a lift, or just set it there and just do an update. You have to go through and disconnect the batteries. You have to go and disconnect all this other crap. You got to put high voltage things around the area. It takes a lot of freaking time. So the dealers really don't like doing that because time is money at a dealership. And then you got a car sitting there for multiple hours just doing an update. So a lot of times they won't want to do it. But talk to your dealer about it and see if your car, is, issued one of those RSBs. I'm sure it is. For reference, in my case, the physical disconnect failed. Oh, really? It actually physically the physical disconnect failed. Oh wow! For how many problems you've had with that car, I'm surprised you didn't get it lemon lawed. I'm really surprised you haven't. The midsize is exactly what the Duster fit in the 70s. Yeah. That's the funny part is like a compact car in the 70s would be like a midsize. Well, would be a full size car now, pretty much. They really do need to bring back the Dodge Challenger car with a new Hemi V8 with rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, and an all-wheel drive system that could be turned on and off. See, here's the thing, though. Like, to me, again, I've said this multiple times. If you're going to do a Hemi V8, like, bring it into one of these cars, I want something all new. I don't want the Gen 3 Hemi. The Gen 3 Hemi's been around since 2003. I graduated high school the year that engine came out. That was 23 years ago. So why would you want something really old just because it's a V8 into the car? I would rather wait a couple of years and have some really good times with these powertrains that are in these cars. With these inline sixes are freaking amazingly smooth. I don't know what the heck these some of these reviews have been saying about the Scat Pack having turbo lag. The funny thing is the RT model, like this one here, has turbo lag. Usually these like standard output engines, especially in the Rams, it seems like 1200 RPM is like where it has to be to really build up boost. The Ram 1500, all of them that I've driven with the Hurricane standard output seem that 1200 RPM like range is where it needs to be. These cars seemed like it was the same thing. So about 1200 RPM, and then once it hits 1200 RPM, the boost picks up, and the thing's fast. It's faster than any 5.7 by far. And I've seen a lot of people say, oh, that the RT has no turbo lag. It does. It really does. The Scat Pack, runs way more like higher compression and all that. It feels like, oh, again, you have drive-by-wire. So it's not going to be instant when you put it down to the floor. But when you put it down to the floor, I mean, it hauls ass. It has very minimal turbo lag at all in the HO. So I don't know where people are getting that. And I've driven it in the mountains. I've driven it in the snow. I've driven it off-road. I mean, I've when I go to these events, I try not to like stand there and talk about the car. I want to get in the car and drive it as much as possible. So again, the car that I drove, that silver one, I put 233 miles, I think it was, on that car in Tennessee, and I put another almost 200 on it in New Hampshire and Vermont. So I really do hope Dodge and Stellantis are working on a new gen Hemi V8 engine. It's time. Yeah, I totally agree. I want to see something kind of like the Ford application. I want to see like I would love to see a dual overhead cam, Gen 4 Hemi. Low, like smaller displacement, so that way if something happens where after the Trump administration leaves, and let's say we get somebody that wants to like throw all this emissions crap back on in there, and they can have the Senate, and let's say they have control of the Senate and the House, and they decide, hey, we're going to put all this emissions crap back on there. I want something that will stay around for a while. So small displacement, I would like to see like somewhere between a 4.8, maybe a 5.2, because if you had a 5.2, it'd be a 318. That'd be kind of cool. Even though there was never a 318 Hemi, but whatever. But have a small displacement, dual overhead cam, V8 engine that sounds pretty good, makes pretty good power, naturally aspirated, somewhere in the 525 horsepower range, and then instead of doing supercharged stuff, go turbocharge. A turbocharged, like a twin turbo V8 would be freaking awesome. So, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of possibilities out there, but we'll see. So, I mean, we got all the time in the world, right? Hopefully. Everybody keeps saying that Dodge and Chrysler are going to die because of, Stellantis is going to go bankrupt. But to be honest with you, they had to spend money. They had to spend money to, like, revamp product. And what people aren't understanding, too, is not to get off the Charger topic. These cars were always planned. Okay, the 5.7, you have to remember, this isn't Carlos Tavares' whole plan to get rid of the Hemi out of the Charger. These engines started production back in 2013 to replace the 5.7 and 6.4. They never said anything about the Hellcat. According to what we heard back in 2018, what their original plan was they were going to change the cars out in 2020. And Tim Kuniskis actually talked about this. He mentioned this on Autoline After Hours. He talked about like they came to a crossroads. Like in 2020, they were gonna like replace the cars with like cars based on the Giorgio platform, and basically have the inline six engines and stuff. But then he thought, or we can save money and just keep the current cars and just keep building horsepower up with the bigger V8 variances of the Hemi, and that's what they ended up doing. Now these inline sixes again started development in 2013. Originally, a lot of people don't know this, is the original people that were working on this engine program for what they call the GME T6. So when you hear Kuniskis talk about the Hurricane, he always calls it the T6 because internally it's called the T6. It's the Global Medium Engine Turbocharged 6-cylinder. I keep saying it wrong. GME T6. So when Tim says T6, he's talking about the Hurricane. But the T6 engine basically, again, was started production, or not production, but started development in 2013 to replace the 5.7 and 6.4. That's its whole goal. But unfortunately, people just still want that old engine. And again, I love my 5.7s, but they are old, man. They're so freaking ancient. Like, they should have been replaced years and years ago. I mean, I just told you, Ford had a 5-liter Coyote motor that came out in 2011, and they've had 5 different variants of it. So it's old. Let me see here. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, shop around. I think you guys are going to be really impressed when you actually shop the price of the six-pack, Scat Pack, and the RT. For just a few grand more, and again, your residual value will help, like, you know, make the... For what you're going to be paying for the car, if you want your car to hold up value, a Scat Pack's going to be worth more. Dodge should scrap this generation Charger and go back to the drawing board. No, not at all. This car is actually a really good car, Roderick. If you actually drive the car, you'll realize that this car is way better than the outgoing LD and LA cars. Way better. Drives better, handles way better. Again, with the Hurricane engines, compared to the naturally aspirated Hemis, way better. So it's way more high tech. The problem is the price, and that's honestly that's truth. But I'm telling you, if you've driven one, you would know that this car is a way better car. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect, but it's a way better car. So it's a bad Uber car. Let's see here. I hope Dodge Scat Pack removes 2,000 pounds from the weight. Yeah, well, that's not going to happen because it's a bigger footprint car. You got to remember, a lot of the weight that comes into these cars has to do with government regulations. So you have all the safety tech, you know, like adaptive cruise control is standard and all this stuff. You know, you think about all the safety stuff that has to go into it. These A-pillars are massive on these cars in today's world because they have to hold the weight of the actual car like 3 times the weight of the car if they flip upside down for like, what? I think it's like 5 hours or something like that, 8 hours. So there's a lot of tech that goes into safety and stuff that causes all this weight. You think about it, these Scat Pack models, you know, like they have 360-degree cameras. They have, you know, 19 speaker sound systems. They got tons and tons of different tech. You know, like my Daytona freaking can drive itself pretty much. You just got to put your finger on the wheel. It doesn't have the facial recognition of where you can sit there without your hands on the wheel. You got to look forward like the Rams do. But it does have level 2 driving where you can just basically put your finger on the steering wheel or hold something against it and the car will drive itself. So there's a lot of safety tech that actually contributes to the weight. On top of that, you got features like, hey, I'm going to put a glass roof in this thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. You put sport buckets in it and all this stuff, you're going to add up weight. Honestly, what I think Dodge needs to do, and I said this in my video, is this is just the beginning for these cars. And I think once Dodge starts making like special edition models, I think a Scat Pack 1320 version of this car would be awesome. Strip out the interior, get as much weight down as possible, put drag radials on this with all-wheel drive and 550 horsepower, and see where you can go. So again, I think there's a lot of different things that they could do to this car. But again, the lot of the weight that you're hearing about has to do with all the safety crap that goes into these cars. So it's not that like, hey, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It would be only a fraction if it didn't have to have all the safety tech in it. So let's see here. Grant says they need to stop wasting money on the Italian brands here in North America. Focus on Chrysler Group. Also get rid of the Stellantis North American name. So I don't know about the Italian brands just yet. We're going to see more about that in May, but the sales don't look really good for those. Are people still confusing the weight of the BEV Daytona with the ICE variances? It seems so. No, people just think that the 4,800 pounds, which is a really heavy car, but it's a mammoth car. 4,800 pounds is, you know, a heavy car. You know, the Daytona I have is 5,900 and, what was it, 5,960 pounds dry. So, I mean, 6,000 pound car. But, you know what the thing is a lot of people, you know, if you read Mopar Insiders, we talk a lot about the future of battery tech. So in 2028, what we've been hearing from our sources is in 2028, the Charger will go through its first mid-cycle refresh. So we'll be seeing things change. But for the Daytona, what the rumor is for the Daytona, and Stellantis has been very open about this, they're working with a company from North Carolina to build semi-solid state batteries for these cars. There is a number of Dodge Charger Daytonas on the road right now that are prototypes running around with semi-solid state batteries. So what we're hearing about these batteries is that they're going to be like maybe half to 3/4 the size of the current battery. So they'll be cheaper. They'll be, well, first of all, they'll be able to get more range because they can actually store more energy. The other thing is these batteries can discharge energy even hard, like more. Like their energy density, they can discharge it more. So what that means is they can actually put bigger EDMs in these cars and make even more power because they can discharge the battery power faster. There's a whole bunch of things that they can do. You know, right now, the Daytona is only a 400 volt car. The Banshee was supposed to be an 800 volt car. Now we're seeing Chinese cars come out with like 1,000 and 1,200 volt systems. There's a lot of potential there. I don't hate my Daytona. I love my Daytona. It drives different than the six-pack cars. I love the six-pack cars more than the Daytona just because of a couple reasons. And the reasons is the infrastructure here in Detroit sucks. Having to go fast charge it is a pain in the ass. The other thing is, and you're going to hate hearing me say this because this is where I get kind of political, I hate government intervention when they have to get involved with stuff. So, like, for example, my Dodge Charger Daytona, here in the state of Michigan, my plates, just from last year, went from, what was it? There was supposed to be like $300. This year for my tabs, I paid $628. $628. Compared to my Durango, which went up, my Durango with the 5.7 Hemi, that car was what, $182 for tabs for the year? But my Charger is 600 and something. They wanted us to drive these EVs, and then they taxed the hell out of us for them. It's stupid. It can be called Chrysler Group under Stellantis and the parent companies. Get rid of the S names from the subsidiaries. You know, Grant, again, I think the big thing is going to be Investor Day in May. So I cannot wait for that. I got a whole bunch of stuff planned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I've been talking about having Frank Rhodes, who's the great-grandson of Walter P. Chrysler, on the channel here. Frank's a really good friend of mine. Frank is going to the investor meeting, and I'm going too. And we're going to have a whole bunch of content between me and him. We're going to be doing a lot of different things. Again, he's going to be at the investor meeting because he actually has stock in the company. But he's going to be here, and we're going to do a lot of different videos and stuff. So Frank's got a lot to say about what he thinks where Chrysler and stuff should be going. So stay tuned for that. And Frank's also got an article coming up on Mopar Insiders too this next week. So stay tuned for that too. Because Frank's got a lot of unique ideas, but we'll see where Stellantis goes. Because honestly, I'm not saying nothing until I see what Antonio Filosa has planned. I'm not cutting down Antonio. He's got a lot of work ahead of him. But in order for them to basically go back to where they were financially, but the thing is they're doing basic stuff right now, like bringing back the Hemi into the Ram 1500 because it's a moneymaker. So even though it's cheaper than what it was in 2024, it actually costs them more to build a Hurricane engine, but you're paying for the Hurricane, but then you're paying a premium on Hemis because they can't build enough of them because the Hurricane production is in full demand too. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on. We've been hearing, they're going to move Hemi production to North America. What I've been told is that's been all delayed because of money issues. I asked Tim Kuniskis about that. He said they're working on it. You can go back and watch the video with my interview with Tim at the Detroit Auto Show. I asked him right about it. I said, hey, you guys can't build enough Hemis. He wants to build 100,000 Hemis this year. And when you think he says 100,000 Hemis, he means for the Ram truck brand. He means in general, like all Hemis. I'm talking Hellcats, 392s, 5.7s. That 100,000 Hemis, that's it. 100,000 for everything. So a lot of people think like, oh, that's 100,000 trucks. No, Tim even said on the video with me, he said, we had 50,000 orders. He goes, I was flipping out when people were like, the first day we took 10,000 orders and everybody said it was a big deal. And he goes, that big whoop. He goes, I sell over 500,000 trucks a year. 10,000 is nothing. And then he said out of the 50,000 orders they had, they only fulfilled 30,000 of them. So there isn't many Hemi trucks out there. So they're paying a premium for them. So, let's see here. Anybody else have any questions about the Charger? I'm sorry, I'm refreshing my stuff here. Give me just a second. The wind is howling really bad outside. I keep hearing it hit this wall next to me. It's like, holy smokes. So yeah, I mean, I had a blast driving these cars. Again, I think Dodge's biggest problem is getting people into the dealers to drive them. Again, don't listen to the keyboard warriors out there. You know, a lot of people just complain and they've never even seen one. They've never sat in one. You know, people are reluctant to change. But go to a dealer. See for yourself. The worst thing you can say is if you hate this car, go test drive one. And see for yourself what it's like. You can say, hey, it's not for me. Big whoop. Okay, I'm glad I bought a 2023 car. That's what you can say. But go and drive one of these things. You might be actually shocked. I think a lot of people that didn't really were naysayers that got behind the wheel of these things actually really enjoyed them. And that's one of the reasons why these cars won Car of the Year for several, automotive publications. On top of that, won North American Car of the Year. Edis, are the fender flares and hood coming from the model at the SEMA? You're talking about the Dodge Charger SIXPACK concept from SEMA. The fenders, like the vents, the front fender vents aren't. Those were just conceptual. I'll bring it up so everybody can see what I'm talking about. So those are just conceptual. The hood is coming. It's going to be carbon fiber. And the front valance and the, what else is it? The rear spoiler. The Barracuda style spoiler. Those are going to be, let me see here. Got to put it in SIXPACK. Those are all coming, but they're all carbon fiber. I mentioned to them that it was too expensive. I wanted them to build fiberglass models or something of them. But the fender vents aren't coming. Those are conceptual. That might be something we see on the Hellcat. I don't know. Everybody keeps posting stuff like, "Oh, it's a Hellcat." We don't know. We don't know just yet. I know they're testing, kind of trying to figure out stuff. This hood is going to be available very, very soon. But it's going to be carbon fiber only, which kind of sucks. This front valance here will fit on the Daytonas and the SIXPACK cars. That will be available. The hood will not fit on the SIXPACK or the Daytonas. They'll fit on the SIXPACK only. The rear spoiler obviously will fit on both cars. That's going to be available. That's the Barracuda spoiler. If you know anything about, when I say Barracuda, back in 2019, I actually caught the very first photos of this spoiler design driving on the 2019 Challenger, all camoed up. They came out with that. They called it the SRT spoiler here in the US, but in Canada they called it the SRT Barracuda spoiler. So when I say Barracuda spoiler, it's this design. It was a really popular option on the Charger. Matter of fact, all of the Demon 170s had them. But this is pretty much the same design. It's just made for this car. The strobe stripes and everything are available now. You can go get those. Cold air intake is available, I believe, I want to say this past month. I want to tell you the right time. Hold on here. Cold air intake will come in the first quarter, so it's probably coming right now. Cabback exhaust, they have I believe it's a MagnaFlow exhaust, is available now. There's the part number. You can go on Mopar Insiders and click on this article here called Moparized Charger SIXPACK Concept Reveals 2016 or 2026 Upgrades. This has, I wrote down all the part numbers that were available at the time. I should go back through and update it. But the carbon fiber front splitter, $2,500. Carbon fiber rear deck lid spoiler, that Barracuda spoiler, $2,500 because it's carbon fiber. So, but things like the cold air intake is both for the RT and the SO. That's only $895. And again, that hood's really cool. Kind of reminds me of the TRX kind of style hood, but it is a Mopar part. But the fenders aren't. And then also in the spring, around what I've been told is around Easter time, so probably next month, they will have a spring kit for $325. So those people who like the car but do not like the fact that it's all-wheel drive and has like a little bit of a raised height between the wheel well, Mopar will have springs that will lower the car down an inch and basically fill in that gap. You can see here just how close the tires sit now to the fender. So again, there's a lot of things coming for this car now that the six-pack cars are finally hitting dealers. The RT should be arriving here like, oh shoot, probably within the next week or so. And then we're going to start seeing a lot more parts. The aftermarket, I just did a whole thing today that Burger Motorsports has been tuning the six-pack Scat pack. And they did a whole bunch of dyno tests with it. And right out of the box, in rear-wheel drive mode, that car got made 470 horsepower to the rear wheels and 486 pound-feet of torque. And just by adjusting it, and the problem is that the intake needs to be changed out because it basically restricts how much air can go into the motor. So they put a cold air intake in it, and they want to put a different kind of intake on the top of the motor. But ultimately, just through tuning, they were able to get crazy, where is it? 542 wheel horsepower and 600 pound-feet of torque. And that's using what I think was it E30? I think it was E30 that they were running. Yeah, E30. So there's a lot of potential with this twin turbo engine. A lot of potential. Hey, Hemi Muscle, how's it going, man? To be honest, I just don't see the PSA side being okay with this North American prioritization. There's no doubt in my mind that they're going nuts about it. Grant, again, I think Investor Day is going to be really fun to watch. We're going to see exactly what's laid out. Hemi Muscle says, I'm a big Dodge guy, but the new generation of buyers doesn't necessarily want a Hemi in every car. That only sounds good in the comments. All the 60-plus-year-old Dodge guys think it's 1977. I like a Hemi V8, but to me, the Gen 3 is so old. These Hurricane engines, the only thing I complain about the Hurricane engines, I don't like and almost every engine has tons of plastic on it. The Hurricane's got like a ridiculous amount of plastic on the top of the motor. And I'm not talking about like, the cover. I'm talking about like the parts. But, things have gotten kind of crazy with plastic. Plastic's been, I guess, okay, because Ford uses plastic in a lot of their stuff. But I don't like the fact you can't check your oil in this stupid thing. It doesn't have a dipstick. But, again, we've seen some software issues with this car, mainly because, for example, because of government emissions regulations, what they do is they dump fuel down the cats. As soon as you go to start the ignition, it dumps fuel down the cats. And then when you start it, when it ignites, it burns off emissions. Well, they've actually been catching the catalytic converters on fire. So they've actually changed that from what we hear. And we know that the government's like kind of easing back on regulations. So it probably will help these cars in the long run with having to do with all this extra emissions crap on them. So I think, a lot of people don't, it's kind of funny because a lot of people don't remember that back in the 80s and 90s, Dodge was known for being a performance brand because of turbocharged engines. I mean, we had turbocharged engines up until the 2010s, with the Caliber SRT4 and the Neon SRT4, and those were really well-performing vehicles. You look at the 90s, we had, even though it's a Mitsubishi product, we had the Stealth twin-turbo, right, V6. We had four-wheel steering. We had one of my favorite cars, what I wanted in high school, was a 1992 Dodge Daytona IROC RT. And that had a 2.2 Series 3 four-cylinder engine, turbocharged, 222 horsepower. That's more than the first year SRT4 Neon in 2003. And that was back in 1992. So, I mean, Dodge was always known as, like, the performance brand. I mean, you go back into the 80s, you had, like, the GLHS, Shelby Charger, you had a whole bunch of different, like, high-performance turbo cars. So, everybody forgot about the Hemi cars for the longest time. And it seems like it's kind of, like, flip-flopped. You had your Hemi muscle cars, then you had your turbo 4-cylinders and 6-cylinders. Then you had your Hemis, now you're back to your turbo 4s and 6s again. So, who knows? Again, I would love to see a V8 come back. I think even putting a Hellcat in this thing is kind of crazy, because if we see a Hellcat in this car, and it's going to be a cash grab. That's what it's going to be. Everybody knows it. You're going to have, what does it say? Oh, or there goes millions of them. Oh yeah, the EEC cars and all that. Yeah, the PL, the GH. Yeah, yep, they were all turbo cars. Exactly, millions of them. Yes. But my big thing is like, you know, you go back and you do the whole Hemi thing with this Hellcat, and okay, that that car is going to cost a ton of money. Okay, because these cars already cost $60,000-$70,000. That car is going to be close to $100,000. And if you look at like the Ram SRT TRX, it might be like $10,000 cheaper than what it was, but really it's the same thing as the RHO. Nothing's really changed other than them kind of adjusting how the suspension is a little bit with like ratios and that because of the weight of the Hellcat. But compared to the RHO, you're paying like a $25,000 premium. Because why? Because you get a Hellcat engine? That's what Antonio Filos has been talking about. They want profit-driven vehicles. That's all this Hellcat's going to be. So when you look here, these guys ran this car at a track day, and it's not even fully tuned yet. They've done just light stuff to it. It ran, right here, I wrote that it ran 11.85 in the quarter at 119.5 miles an hour. And that's not even like they could do a lot more to it. So there's no doubt in my mind that the Charger with the Hurricane high output engine has a lot of potential to go really fast for very cheap money. So you could put like I think their programmer costs what, $700? I think it's like $699. And then you throw a cold air intake into it and stuff. So you're looking at maybe $1,000. Picture throwing a couple grand into this thing and seeing how fast this thing can go. That's the cool potential about these small displacement Hurricane engines. So I think people just got to give it time, and once I think the aftermarket really starts creating like a huge amount of like product and showing what these engines are capable of doing, I think a lot of people will jump on board. But we'll see. What I think of the Spark demerger is when they eventually shut down the DS brand, in which isn't doing well over in Europe. Yeah, the thing is, Antonio basically said that he's not looking at shutting down any of the brands. Basically, he said, you know, they're not going to cancel any of the brands. If you look at what they're doing with Maserati, they're actually kind of putting it back into the portfolio. Remember, Maserati became kind of like its own thing. DS is just a weird brand. Like, obviously, it was part of Citroen. They decided to do a spin-off. And then they wanted to go after Rolls-Royce with it. And it's like products that wouldn't make sense to go after Rolls-Royce because they're like mid-sized products with like front-wheel drive based platforms. I don't know. I just don't get DS. Ultimately, if you look, like everybody says Chrysler's dead. Chrysler still outsells DS. They outsell Alfa Romeo. They outsell Lancia, or whatever you want to call it. Because no matter what I say, everybody corrects me on it. But Chrysler outsells almost, well, quite a few of the European brands, other than Fiat, and I think Peugeot. I believe I'm not sure if they outsell Citroen or not. But they don't think they don't outsell Peugeot and Fiat for sure. Fiat's the number one selling brand for unit wise for Stellantis because they sell so many units in South America. So, but yeah, I don't really think that, you know, when you hear that they're going to like get rid of brands and stuff, I don't know if they will. I'm like you, Grant. I think they need to get rid of like basically Fiat here. Unless they bring like products like the Grande Panda and stuff. Like if they bring more products over here that are reasonable, not electric, I think they could do good. And I'm not talking about the Topolino freaking the quadricycle car. It's a cool thing, but it's like a golf cart. But Alfa Romeo is pretty much dead in the water. I would rather see them take that money and invest it in Chrysler and Dodge. I would rather see them invest like money into a Chrysler convertible product or a smaller, like everybody says here, they want a Dodge Challenger, like a smaller Dodge Challenger vehicle. So From what I've been told, Dodge is working on 2 new products. Okay, Dodge is working on some kind of SUV that's smaller, probably to replace the Hornet, and then they're looking at a smaller car. So we've already heard that they're looking at doing something under like the whole goal is to do a product for each of the brands under 30 grand. Antonio Flozic's kind of like highlighted that at the Detroit Auto Show. So hopefully we'll see something. Fiat 600 could be. The only problem with that is I think the Fiat 500 or Fiat 600 ultimately I think the Grande Panda would probably do better, and the reason being is because it's kind of like an out there product where we've already seen them do like they're looking at doing a 4x4 concept and stuff like that, and it's more flexible. The 600 is more of a styling kind of vehicle. Ultimately, Fiat needs to like spice things up. The 500 does not sell well, and the reason being is it's so expensive. Now that might change. That might change going into the future, because what they're doing right now, and again, Stellantis has been very vocal on this too, and I don't want to get too sidetracked off a Charger, but what we've been hearing is that the 500 is going to get a cheaper battery. So that was one of the biggest complaints in Europe. Like all of a sudden sales just started to tank on the Fiat 500, and that's because everybody who bought one, but people can't afford it. I mean, if you look at the car here, the base model starts at $32,000, has a range of 180 miles. That really doesn't do much, and it's a 2-seater car basically with a bench in the back. You can't fit a normal adult back there. So it's very limited to who this car really is for here. But if they can, like, what their goal is to make the car, let me rephrase that. Their goal is to make the car cheaper, because then it would appeal to more people. The easiest way to do that is they've already done the hybrid version over there with a 6-speed manual, but it's basically a 1-liter 3-cylinder engine. It's a hybrid engine, like a mild hybrid engine. It wouldn't make it over here because it's less than 100 horsepower. The thing is if you look at what they're doing for the electric model, they're looking at putting a smaller battery pack. They're looking at the price range of somewhere to start around $23,000 for the EV version. If that's the case, it would be about $24,000 US dollars here. If they do that, then you're starting to look at a whole different kind of group of people. College students and stuff that need a cheaper vehicle that really don't drive much. Then you could start selling the 500e. But yeah, until they get that new battery pack in there, I don't think they're going to sell any 500es like by any volume. The 500e, like here, I walked into the Fiat dealership to see that Topolino vehicle, and I was looking at it with my daughter. I was looking at the 500e, and she was like, "Oh, this is such a cool car," because it was the retractable top one. And the guy told me, he goes, "Hey, if you can get a Chrysler employee discount right now, we can lease one of these to you with 12,000 miles." And this was a fully loaded 500. And it was the La Prima or whatever, La Premia? Basically, for $99 a month. Or no, it was less than that. It was like $93 a month. So they were just basically giving those cars away because they can't get rid of them. So we'll see. The problem is they're going to have no choice to cut some of the struggling European brands. The company is too big and way too many brands. I agree. And that was one of the reasons why I asked Tim Kuniskis, like, would he consider moving Dodge and Ram back into the same brand? I think that would be a genius idea. A lot of people want Dodge and Ram to be back under one umbrella. It makes the brand look bigger to compete against Chevrolet and Ford. But Tim doesn't really care. He said he wants to hear what people say, and it seems like a majority of people want Dodge and Ram to go back together. They can still have Ram trucks. Just put them under the Dodge and put Dodge on the tailgate or something. But, again, that would eliminate one of the 14 brands. Technically, they have 15 brands if you count Leap Motor, because they're really focused on bringing Leap Motor to a bunch more countries. So we'll see. Leap Motor's actually grown massively in the last year. They've launched four or five new vehicles. They got a minivan that's coming out that we talked about on Mopar Insiders. That's actually about the same size as the Pacifica. It's all electric, using, 1200 volt electrical architecture. I mean, their vehicles are getting. They got a compact hatchback, electric hatchback that's going to hit Europe. They got a couple more SUVs. I mean, they got a whole lineup. And then you look at Chrysler, which is getting a refreshed version of the Pacifica. So the Pacifica update isn't even in anything big. Like, really, we thought it was going to be. We heard, like, what I've been hearing from a lot of my friends that work over at Windsor is, like, it's nothing. It's basically a front fascia update. It was supposed to have a whole new electrical architecture and stuff, I guess, because maybe of all the problems they've been having, they decided not to do it. So, yeah, and then we got the C6X coming. Just, there's a ton of stuff that's coming in the works, but again, you gotta have money to make it. So, I understand what they're doing with the product, but who knows? But, yeah, so the 600 being here for Fiat would be okay, but I think they would rather bring the Jeep Avenger here than the Fiat, because Jeep Avenger, ultimately, I think that would sell really good here. It's one of the best-selling vehicles in Europe right now, and there's no doubt in my mind that if they brought that vehicle here, they would be making a lot of money with it. The only thing is with the tariffs and stuff, they would have to find a place here or in Mexico to really build it. But Toluca is already building Cherokee, Recon, the older Compass. So, I mean, how many vehicles can they build there? So we just don't know yet. So there's a lot of questions yet, and that's why I'm saying I'm kind of holding out for Investor Day. Investor Day is going to be a big thing. But again, with these six-pack cars, I'm really impressed. I think people need to go out and actually experience them, drive them, or, and actually spend some time behind the wheel. I think, once people get into these cars, they'll like them a lot more. Are they perfect? No. There's some things I would love to see them change. I think the mid-cycle action, since Tavares isn't there anymore, I think they'll put a little more focus into the cars, update the interior a little bit better. I know I had a talk with Matt Mackler, because when we were sitting there in Vermont, he was asking me questions about my car. He was like, hey, he goes, can I ask you a couple questions about your car? And I said, yeah. And he go, I go, what about? He goes, well, the electronic door locks. Because if you sit in these cars, they have push buttons down lower on the door panels. And everybody who gets in my car cannot figure them out, because they're right against your leg. And they're in the bottom side of the handle. And then what people don't realize is there's mechanical handles in the fronts of the doors. So if the electric locks don't open, you can reach down and pop the door manually. The problem is they're all black and you can't see them. So if you drove off into a pond or something, this is what I told Matt, if you drove off into a pond, you can't see them. I said they need to be like red or something, or aluminum color or something like that, so you can see them, so you can grab them. But I said I don't mind the door poppers. I just want to move somewhere so people can see them, because everybody who gets in the car can't get out because they can't figure it out. Hey, off topic, but I'm really digging the all-new ProMaster City minus the, 1.6 turbo. Yeah, ProMaster City is it's a product that has been very, very successful. Not the ProMaster itself, but all the different European variants over in Europe. They've been very successful. The powertrain, the 1.6 here, the turbo, is a different powertrain than... It's a European powertrain, but it's something different that we haven't had here. I was kind of disappointed when I found out, because they sent us the media stuff, I don't know, probably about... We got to see the unveiling... I actually seen the unveiling. I was supposed to be there for ProMaster in Detroit, but I was in Stowe, and I got to watch it via live stream. And I was kind of disappointed with the powertrain in it. I figured that they would go with the same formula that they did with the original ProMaster City, and that was put a North American powertrain in it. Like, I would have loved to see, not Hurricane 4 in it, but if they go to put like the 1.3 turbo from the Renegade in it, like 180 horsepower, would have been way cooler. Plus, there would have been enough parts around here. I don't, what we were told is they picked the 1.6 because of its efficiency. It's not the biggest horsepower jump, but it was supposed to be more efficient with, economy. But they never released the numbers yet, because obviously they haven't gone through the EPA. So I'm very curious to see what the actual mileage is on that van. So, but it's cool. There's one thing I don't understand that they did besides the 1.6 is they only put one door on it, like one sliding door. The ones over in Europe have the option for one door or two. So hopefully we get an option for two sliding doors on, one on each side. Because I think that will be a big seller in that point. But it's cool that they did a one sliding door version because, it frees up a lot of space on the one side of the van. But again, they got a passenger van, which I think is going to be very important to the ProMaster City. A lot of people, for example, there's a lot of people who look at, like my uncle. My uncle was a Ford guy. He had Ford Transit Connect. He also bought a Ram ProMaster City too. But he actually bought Ford Transit Connects for his business. He bought one Ram ProMaster City that was used and actually really liked it. But after he sold his business, he actually bought a Ford Transit Connect for his own personal vehicle. So he has one with the passenger van configuration set up, and he absolutely loves it. And the fun thing is this van's a little bit bigger than the outgoing ProMaster City, but as a passenger van, it's still smaller than a Pacifica technically, in width and stuff. So again, I think it will be very good for in passenger wagon form. I think it'll be really good for those hotels that need to do little shuttles to the airport or cruise terminals or whatever. I think there's a lot of applications for it. Again, it's just about price. If it's under $40,000 in a passenger, like they said, they haven't told us the official price yet. They said basically that they're focusing on underneath $40,000, but it's going to be subject to the chicken tax and stuff. But if they can build it under 40 grand and do the passenger wagon for that, that's cheaper than Pacifica. They might have a whole bunch of buyers just buying it because of that. So I can't wait to drive one. I think the ProMaster City's got a lot of potential. I don't think that I think once they see how people are buying them, they'll come up with more ideas. The funny thing is if you watch my video on the ProMaster City, I talked a lot about, if you look back in 2015 when the ProMaster City came out for North America here, at the time they had Transit Connect, they had the Nissan NV200, they had the Chevy City Express, which was just a NV200 that was badged as a GM product. But they had all these vans in the market, and then in 2002, all of them disappeared. Within 6 months, all of them were discontinued. The thing is with Ram coming into this market, they're the only vehicle in that segment. They could do a lot of damage, and I think they're testing the waters with what people want. They said they did studies and stuff. They talked to customers. This seems like the van that they're releasing now is exactly what people want. So if it does really good, I think we're going to see more options. But ultimately, I think we could even see, the U.S. Postal Service buying a ton of them. And the honest to God's truth is they use Mercedes vans. They use that Metris van. The Metris is pretty close in size to what this is. So if they can sell a ton of these to the postal services, and Canada Post and all that, I think they could have a massive hit on their hands. And the other automakers will be chasing them. It just depends on how they market it. And they already showed it off at the the Work Trades, the Work Truck Equipment Association show or whatever, this past week. That's where they officially unveiled it to the public. So again, I think there's a lot of potential with this vehicle. It just depends on how they market it. I think there's a lot of small businesses like floral shops and just small businesses that don't need big vans that will absolutely love this thing. Again, it's going to be all based on pricing. That's why people love the original ProMaster City. And to me, the 1.6 turbo is just excuse me, I got such bad allergies right now. I really think that if they would have again put a 1.3 turbo in it, I think it would have been more peppy. could have been like more parts available, because obviously they still sell the 1.3 in South America and in Mexico and stuff. So there's parts around, and there's enough Renegades running around here with that 1.3 to justify it. But who knows? We'll see. Hopefully it's based on that Prince engine that's old from Europe. Hopefully it's, you know, it's supposed to be a different kind of configuration here for North America, but we'll see. Again, I haven't driven it. I don't know all the things about it yet. Hey, are they offering what's it? Incineron on, you mean incentives maybe? On the Daytona Scat Pack? Are you talking about incentives? Yeah, they need to make those handles bright red or yellow. The handles in the Daytona. I would like to see them just make them aluminum or something, like some kind of silver colors. That way you know where they are. They're black, and they do have like a logo above them, but it's stamped into the black plastic, so you can't see it. Maybe I'll do a video on it. I viewed several videos, and there's a lot to like. Yeah, on the ProMaster. Are there any stripe packages or decals available on the SIXPACK Charger? I don't see any on Dodge's website. Oh, there's a ton on Dodge's website. There's a ton available through Mopar, too. We can talk all about them. There's tons and tons and tons. So they have, let me show you real quick. So if you go back through here on my channel, I did a video the other day when we were in Vermont. I actually posted the Dodge team talking about all of this stuff. And Greg Howell actually showed us 3 of the stripes that you can get now on Charger. So I'll show you those real quick. Give me just a second here to get up through here, and I'll show you. Right here. As soon as it loads here, you can see it. So they have the Fratzog stripe, which is really nice. They have the new matte black hood decal. Let me see if I can feel play. And then they also have black stripes, matte black stripes that are available. If they're not on the Dodge website just yet, you know, in the next couple of days, you should be able to go to your dealer and get them, because the Fratzog stripes are on there for sure. The matte black one is on the actual six-pack cars. On the Daytona, you can get a gloss black hood or the Fratzog stripes. Mopar has a ton of different stripe packages as well. So they have a stripe that goes down the side that says Charger. I'll show you those real quick too, because I did a whole thing on them. And if you notice here, I never paid attention to this until like just a little bit ago. Greg is showing us this color. This is that Sub-Zero color. They didn't tell us that it was coming out, but this is it on this car. So let me go back and I'll show you a little YouTube short I did. And I'll show you all the stripe packages. So the car I drove out there was this one with the matte black stripe on the hood. That's a Mopar stripe. I believe it's, I want to say $495 for it. But my car had the ski rack on it. They took the ski rack off, unfortunately. I wanted to have it on there the whole time because I thought it was cool. But I'll show you the strobe stripes. I don't know why it's going to different videos. The strobe stripes are available that were on the six-pack concept. That was out at SEMA. Come on. Play. So you can see the matte black hood stripe on that car that I drove. And then the car next to it didn't have a stripe, but I believe the next 2 cars after it had a Charger stripe that basically was down the side, the body side, and said Charger on it. I'll show you. And then they had the strobe stripes too. So there are options. So that, yeah, that's a matte black hood stripe for just the six-pack cars. That car didn't have a stripe. That was a plus car there. And you can see right here, this plus car has a, let me see if I can enlarge it a little bit. It has this black stripe that comes off the back there and says Charger with the Charger font on it. And then you can see another one. Here's a white one with it on there. And then this is a blue car with a red strobe stripe, which you can see. And then here is a red car. or no, this is an After Dark car with one. But I'll show you the strobe stripe in a different video. Hold on here. Let me show you real quick. So this right here has the strobe stripe in it. Let me show you real close, real quick. So you can see that strobe stripe. So it actually breaks up. It's like the hockey stripe from the CUDA from back in the days, but it's got like segments broke off into it. Funny note, I have a video I've never shown anybody, well, other than a couple of people. When we went and drove these cars at O'Neill Rally School, I was in this exact car here, and I was with, basically at the end of the day, they let these instructors take us on a hot lap, and we actually ran like a course, and we actually got airborne and jumped the cars. We're doing 60 miles an hour, me and the instructor, and we crashed our car into a snowbank, doing about 58 miles an hour. Just missed a tree, and the car had no damage on it. We weren't hurt. In the video, I'm laughing my ass off. It was like 45 degrees out, and it had snowed about 4 inches the night before, and the snow was all melting, so it was just like super icy. And I had my window down because it was so nice out, and we were doing this run, and when we hit the snowbank, we hit so hard that I had about 10 pounds of snow in my lap. I got soaked. I was soaking wet, and I'm laughing my ass off. Not that we crashed, but I just got drenched with snow. We threw snow about 20 feet in the air and knocked a bunch of branches out of a tree. They had to tow us out of the snowbank. I had snow up to my door. I couldn't climb out of the car. And we finally got out, and there was no damage to the car at all, other than we jammed so much snow up into the intercoolers and stuff. They had to go like wash it out, but the car had no damage to it, luckily. So maybe I'll show you guys that video. I don't know. Hopefully the second door is coming. Yeah, I would like to see that too. Is there any stripe packages? Yep. I'll show you the stripe packages too on the thing. Love Sub-Zero as much as I do Peel Out in the Charger. Yeah, Peel Out's a cool color. I'm not a huge fan of Peel Out so much as I am After Dark. I love After Dark, and I love Destroyer Gray. I have a Destroyer Gray Durango, but for some reason I'm not a huge super fan of it on the Charger. I think Sub-Zero will look better. If we go over to Dodge.com real quick, let me go over there real quick, and I'll show you the straight packages that they have. So they do have straight packages on Dodge.com in the build configurator. So if you go to, like, let's say the two-door, and let's just pick the Daytona first just because. You can go over here. You can see, you can click the Fratsonic, I keep saying Fratsonic, Fratzog, dual stripes with red accents. They're $1,700. And then this is the crazy option. If you just want the glass black painted hood, it's $3,250. All they do is give you a black hood. So, like, no thanks. So you can do the stripes there. They don't have the side stripes just yet. They're still adding stuff to the website, so guaranteed there'll be more. The matte black stripe will be there. If you go to the Scat Pack 2-door, and you come down here, this one doesn't have the stripes on it. Hold on here, let me see. They should have had the stripes on here somewhere. Maybe they don't. They had the stripes on these cars. Maybe they took them off for some reason. But they should be on here. But they will have stripes on these cars. They had the Fratzog stripes on here before, so they took them off for some reason. Don't know why. They're changing them up somehow. Let's check out the 4-door and see if they has them on there. Hold on here. Scat Pack 4-door. Nope, don't have them on there right now either. So I don't know why they took them off, but yeah, there are stripes that are available. You can order them right through your dealer. Yeah, contact your dealer, your local dealer. Wherever you're going to order your car from, contact them. They'll have a whole list of their stripe codes and stuff. All these car companies need to use manual door handles again and manual parking brakes again. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I understand why they do it, but like for me on the Cherokee and stuff, they have because it's the same Stella Large architecture, they have the same exact door poppers that we do on our Daytonas. They're okay. I don't have a problem with them. The thing on the Daytona is, like around the Charger is, especially with the two-door, it's got frameless glass. A lot of people just think like by pushing real quick, they'll open the door open. It gives you, at least with the door poppers, it gives you enough time where you don't push because the window has to drop down just a bit. A lot of people get antsy and they're like trying to tug on the door, and you don't want to pop the door out loose and bust the glass in it. So the door poppers do kind of help that way from having to like just yank the door open, because knowing how my kids are with the yanking doors open, I guarantee my window would have been busted. So they're not on the six-pack order form. That's interesting because they were on the website here just like a couple days ago. I don't know. You know what I'll do is, Ronster, I'll take and I'll contact my Dodge rep tomorrow, and I'll ask them about the stripe options, and I will basically find out for you. And I'll either send you a private message or I'll put something up on Mopar Insiders about it. So that way you have an answer. Just a side note, Serrano Green Rams have hit dealers already. Yeah, I seen those. That's actually an article that's on Ready. I did an article the other day on Mopar Insiders, like that's in the drafts. So I have a whole bunch of filler stuff. It's just, there is another special thing that's coming out tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. So make sure to be at 8 in the morning. There's another Ram special thing coming out tomorrow. And it's not like huge news, but it's a pretty good one. I think a lot of people will be excited about it. So we had the embargo for the last few days. It's embargoed until tomorrow morning, so I can't talk about it. There's a sharp... Oh, and there will be a video tomorrow here on the channel about it at 8 a.m. There's a sharp-looking Charger and peel out at my local Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer. I would love to see the styling carry over to the similar Dodge passenger car. Any updates on the Compass J4U for the U.S.? Nope. I've heard so many new things about the Compass that it doesn't sound like it's coming anytime soon. Sounds like we're going to be stuck with the MP for maybe another full year. So I've heard a lot of different things about the Compass, and I can't really talk about it because one is there's a really good source who told me something, and I don't want to get them in trouble because there's only a few people that know about it. So, but yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff coming. The Compass itself, they've already officially announced that it's going to be delayed. So we won't see that thing until sometime in 2028, the way it's going. So we'll see. Matter of fact, you know what? I'll show you guys. Let me upload this real quick. I'll show you guys my little six-pack crash. I actually have it videotaped. I'll show you us crashing into the snowbank. I was fine. I didn't wear a helmet or nothing. The instructor was more embarrassed than anything. But we hit it pretty hard. Let me see. Because I can transfer it here to my laptop or my desktop so you guys can see it. We were just pushing too hard. We went too fast into a turn and couldn't recover. So it was pretty funny. And like I said, he was more embarrassed than I was. I was actually laughing because, again, I got soaked with snow. I had my window down and I was just blasted with snow. So hold on here. We'll send it over to the computer here. If it takes it, we'll see. Maybe. Hopefully. Turn AirDrop off and turn it back on and see if it works. If not, I'll have to show you in a different video. Come on. I don't know why it's doing this stuff. But the funny part is I'm laughing my butt off because it's like, yeah, I had literally had about 5 pounds of snow all over me. I was soaked. My shirt was soaked, everything. And you should have seen how high the snowbanks were that we hit. Let's see here. So I think I was the only one that crashed. I ended up doing a bunch of other rides too, but yeah, it was like the last part of the day, and they're like, "Hey, you know, pick a car to go in a ride." And so I just jumped in the car I was standing next to, and the guy was super nice, super nice. Let me see. I don't think it wants me to play it for some reason. I don't know why.
You know, some of the dynamic...
It's playing on my phone, but it won't play on the computer. Maybe. Let me see. That won't fit in there. I'm trying to see if I have a cord or something to plug it in. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to play it for you guys later. It was pretty funny. So, alright. Any more questions about the Charger that you guys want to know? Anything else? Because it's about 9 o'clock. I'm going to get off of here in a few minutes. And I got some stuff to finish. I know a lot of people have had questions. That's why I wanted to come on and talk about it for a while. And answer all the questions that I could of the new Charger. So if you haven't had a chance to, go and actually watch my review on the RT here on the channel. Again, you can go on and watch the RT. You can watch the whole six-pack, Scat pack, the second drive of it. Yeah, there's tons of videos. Like if you're wondering anything about Charger, here's the new Sub-Zero color paint. I've done a ton of videos on the road this past week. 392 Durango ordering has been updated. It's going to be available at the end of the month. We had a whole video about Matt Mackler's, now the Chrysler CEO. 4-door, 6-pack, Scat Pack models hitting dealer lots. If you guys, hopefully you guys, I know a lot of people have been finally watching the video of me camping in the Chrysler Pacifica Pinnacle. I have a whole nother video of me camping and traveling across 9 states in a matter of 4 days in this van. That was actually a fun road trip. I put 3,000 miles on a 2026 Chrysler Pacifica Pinnacle in just like 4.5 days. So that was fun. I've tried for 3 months to configure my desired Ram 1500 in Canyon Lake with the Southwest Edition package and couldn't retain the two-tone interior. Yeah, they won't let you do a two-tone interior with the Canyon Lake color. It just depends on what exterior color you can do. It used to be back in the day you could talk to your dealer and get it custom ordered. Like there was things like back in the day, like for example, my grandmother, she wanted to order a 2001 Chrysler Sebring LXI sedan, and they all came standard in the LXI configuration with auto stick, and she didn't want auto stick. I'm like, why? Like that's like one of the coolest features. I don't want it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. So I was like, all right. And she didn't want the 6-disc CD changer, which came standard in the car. And I'm like, why? So she actually had it custom ordered without those options. But you used to be able to do stuff like that all the time. They don't do it anymore. I don't know why. It's just kind of stupid in my opinion. So, but stay tuned. There's a lot of stuff. I got so many freaking videos planned for the next couple of days. Again, tomorrow we're going to have some Ram news at 8 a.m. Stay tuned for that. There is... A lot of people have been asking me about the Pacifica. Like I said, I talked a little bit about it. You can go on here and watch my video. I talked about that. There's the Wrangler Rock Slide Edition. I did a whole video about the Gladiator one. I'm holding out for a couple days on that. It's going to be just a filler video. You can watch the whole Dodge team talk for 40 minutes if you want about the whole Dodge Charger lineup and Durango lineup. That's right from Stowe. Ram ProMaster City did a whole thing about that. I mean, we've been talking about a lot of stuff. I did a whole review on the 2026 Ram 1500 Bighorn, and is the Bighorn worth the money in today's, like that truck was worth $64,000. Is it worth $64,000 in my opinion? So that's on there. I did a whole walk around of all the, most of the Mopars at the Detroit Autorama. You can go through there. There's no talking. It's just me walking through, looking at stuff. So I have a 360 camera, so you can see all that. We talked about the Charger Hellcat coming back. general maintenance. That thing actually sold for pretty decent money. The Durango SRT Hellcat Road Predator for Mexico. We talked about that. The possibility of a Hemi coming back to Grand Cherokee. You know, Rebel X, the Ram 1500 Rebel X package is back for 2026. Dodge Attitude, with the Green Hornet editions being back. Talked about the six packs on the lots. Just a whole bunch of different videos. So go through and check them out. And then the shorts. We got a lot of shorts. Been trying to do like quite a bit of shorts about the Charger stuff. I have so much content with Charger stuff. It's ridiculous. So I don't want to post it all at once. So you're going to see it kind of spread out through the next couple weeks. So yeah, it's frustrating. I don't know why they don't do custom orders anymore. I have not a clue. So your guess is just as good as mine. But anyways, guys, thanks for joining me tonight. You know, I'm not going to do as many live streams for a while just because I got so much going on. But yeah, Grant, we're going to hear from him pretty soon in April. April's going to be fun, man. Or not April, I'm sorry, in May. May is going to be fun because I'm going to be at Investor Day. Stellantis actually invited me to Investor Day. So I'm going to be right there posting stuff right from the announcement of everything that's going on. So again, it's going to be fun. Frank Rhodes is going to be in town that week. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're talking to some people, trying to make things happen so you guys get some really unique content. We're going to sit down and talk with Frank. We're going to do some live streams. I want you guys to be able to ask Frank some questions. Again, I've been trying to work on certain things, getting certain people. It's been hectic because obviously I didn't know I was going to go to Stowe, Vermont until about a week and a half before, 2 weeks before I did. So, and then I was supposed to be out in California like the week before that, and I didn't go. I actually had Mike from Jeeps on the Run go for me because I could not go. My sister was having heart surgery, or like a heart procedure and all this stuff. So I've been super, super busy, like super busy. So, but the next couple of weeks should be a lot of fun going forward. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff going on. So anyways, guys, take it and have a good night. You know, stay warm. I know a lot of people are getting hit with like heavy snow and there's a lot of power outages out there. So stay warm, stay safe, and I will see you guys later. All right. Have a good night.